Hey guys, Wade Willis here doing my playthrough of Umineko. Still on chapter 1. Things are finally starting to pick up. We're getting some backstories on the grandfather. He's a real peach, essentially going through nervous breakdowns and stuff. Wanting his boo thing, Beatrice, to come back, who it seems like it's kind of implied that she is probably the reason he was able to make all the money he did, which makes sense. So, and virtually everyone in the family is kind of a dick, especially the older people. The grandchildren are all right. I actually like all of them so far, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll probably end up hating more people soon. Excited to continue moving forward. Remember to subscribe and like. It helps a ton. Let's say grandfather was born in this time period. He probably would have had no opportunities and would have had advanced like a chess piece from a mandatory education to college at a leisurely pace, never becoming more than an average salaryman. If that happened, he'd probably have sat somewhere happily talking behind his boss's back. No, not fancy dining hall like this, more like a table at some bar. Then again, I bet this family conference would be a lot more relaxing if that was the case. Okay, that's enough about the old geezer. More importantly, let's talk about this incredible lunch. The thing I care about the least. I'm already convinced that this sashimi salad appetizer... Goto-san is an excellent chef. Plus, these fish were caught in the adjacent seas, weren't they? They're totally different from the sashimi you get at the supermarket. Hey, quit it, Battler. Your upbringing will be exposed. Everyone let out a big laugh. Damn it. You say that even though you love those cheap pubs. Ha ha ha. I've eaten at many unusual places because of work, but this stands right up there with the best of them. I'd be willing to bet Goto-san used to be pretty well known in those circles. Well, I don't know the details, but stuff's got complicated at the long-standing hotel he used to work at. What with them opening a new establishment with the same name and breaking into factions or whatever it was. In the middle of all of that, he was apparently forced to retire. At that time, Mom happened to just be sending out job offers for a servant. There's going to be something fishy with this dude. As Goto removed the empty plates, he began to recount his own bumpy past without losing his smile. The world is a difficult place. However, thanks to the Madame, I was given a chance to display my skills as a chef once again, this time for the Ushiromiya family. Although I enjoy experiencing the smiles of a larger number of people, I also find it quite entertaining to perform more delicate work that can please the limited number of those who have employed me. All of this is thanks to the opportunity given to me by the Madame. Goto-san respectfully bowed his head toward Aunt Nasui. That's because you were the most talented of all the applicants. The decision was purely objective. Based on personal feelings, there is no need to thank me. Dang, why does Natsui always have to sound so indifferent? If only she spoke with a bit more kindness, she might leave a different impression. Alright, I need to change her voice. Shannon-chan and Kumasawa entered from the hallway with a serving cart. Please excuse us. Now then, let us move on to today's dessert. Goto-san and the others set beautifully adorned dessert in front of us all. I guess it's true when they say you have another stomach for dessert. I thought I'd already filled up on delicious food. But as soon as I laid eyes on that dessert, my stomach started yelling, "More!" I don't know much about desserts, but this looked really good. White pudding-like substance was garnished with 2 shades of red sauce. And elegant rose petals adorned the dish. Normally during a high-class meal like this, you're supposed to wait for the chef to extol the virtues of a particular meal before eating. However, Maria was completely indifferent to strict rules like that, and she got excited by this beautiful, delicious-looking dessert, jumping into the fray as soon as it was placed before her. Aunt Rosa scolded her, calling it bad manners, but George responded saying, Now, it's okay. This part's sour. This part's sour. Battler, this one's no good. Ooh! Maria exclaimed, sampling the two colored sauces. What? Some are good and some bad? Okay, I'll give it a go. Apparently one of the sauces was sweet and the other sour. Despite it being bad manners, I also stuck my little finger in and licked it. Whoa, the sauces were sour enough to make you pucker up. If it were yellow, I would have suspected it was lemon, but I couldn't guess what the sourness would be red. I decided to ask Shannon, who was putting away the serving cart behind us. Shannon, what kind of sauce is this sour stuff? Shannon hesitated. Maybe her job was just to set the table, so she didn't really know. Still, even considering that, she seemed pretty stressed. Maybe I shouldn't have asked. Or did they use some type of ingredient we'd be better off not knowing about? While Natsui made a gesture that seemed to indicate an ongoing headache, Kumasawa began setting the table in the opposite seat, began to chuckle. What do you think we made it out of? Ho 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 ho, it'll shock you. Huh, I don't have a clue. Wait a sec. Kumasawa Bao-san, that laugh is pretty creepy, so what is it? Don't tell anyone, okay? Listen very carefully. Kumasawa-san leaned across the other side of the table. I leaned forward myself when she asked. Their interest caught Jessica, George, and of course Maria, all put their ears closer. What? What? Quickly! Quickly! You see, the sour part is made from juice squeezed from mackerel. Ho 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 ho! What? Mackerel? That's crazy. We all thought, horrified. Only Maria accepted it, nodding sagely. Sagely. Ooh, mackerels are sour. This is what comes out when you squeeze them. When Maria started clamoring that mackerel was sour, the adults became unable to contain their laughter. Only Aunt Rosa, her face red, whispered to Maria that mackerel is only soured once prepared as simisaba. Whatever. Oh, now I totally remember. Kumasawa was always like this, wasn't she? I think I remember her tricking me into all sorts of things when I was young. The most lethal has got to be that one. Those flimsy black things in Chinese dishes. They're kukuragi mushrooms. She told me that they were penguin meat, and I went all around school like a smartass telling everyone, didn't I? Kumasawa Bachan, you sure haven't changed. You know Maria's gonna believe it now, right? Oh ho ho, it's just a joke. That sounded Irish. Now Koda-san is going to tell us what the sauce really is, isn't he? Goda looked a little put off about his masterpiece being laughed at for such a bizarre reason. But after clearing his throat once, he introduced the dessert to us. Well then, allow me to introduce our dessert. After seeing how much you all enjoyed the rose garden earlier today, I finished this panna cotta in a rose garden style. The rose petals scattered across were selected just now from that very rose garden. The sauce is a combination of 2 reds, strawberry, and rose hips. Please enjoy this mixture of strawberry sweetness and the rose hip sourness. Furthermore, the rose petals were merely decorative, so please avoid them while you eat. With that said, please enjoy. Whoa! Man, I almost want to applaud before eating. Just like with medicine, reading the detailed description first seemed to make it work a whole lot better. As Goda-san's elaborated on the details of this dessert, it started to feel even more appetizing. Seriously, you should call him subtle or just talented. The dessert was probably planned from the beginning, but just taking the hint when we all stopped in front of the rose garden today, he displayed an incredible and timely awareness by just adding a few rose petals from the garden. This combination of sweet and sour was also exquisite. If it were just sweet, you get used to it and bored halfway through. But if you reach a sour sauce at that point, you get a really vivid taste. And then once you return to the sweet sauce, all the sourness in your mouth will be replaced with an enjoyable sweetness. I'm sure everyone felt the same way. Every time Goto-san passed one of our seats, someone praised the taste and his presentation. How is it, madame? Splendid as always. It is worthy of our entertaining our guests. I am most grateful of your words. Madame, did you know? I have heard that rose hips has the ability to cure headaches. I thought you in particular would appreciate it, so I had it specially prepared. Is that so? Thank you. See, didn't I tell you, Natsui-ni-san? Rose hips is good for headaches. So it seems. I do hope it actually helps. Ha! Goto-san, love ya. Hey, later on, why don't you tell me how they're treating ya? Or if you can't, just let me know what sort of salary you'd like. Having your talent confined in this small island is sacrilege to humanity's cooking culture. What do you think about working your craft for my company and delighting all our customers? Ha! Hideyoshi-san, are you trying to steal away our Gota? Now that won't do at all. We better start treating Gota better or he'll get snatched up. You really should. If you don't, someone's gonna grab him and you'll be stuck with 3 meals of Kumasawa-style mackerel cooking a day, won't ya? Ho ho ho! That's harsh. It seems someone's hiding a grudge against me. Ha ha! Everyone let out a huge laugh. According to Jessica, Kumasawa-san's mackerel jokes were a running gag that our parents had long gotten used to. Kumasawa often claimed that mackerels had precious nutritional value, which could slow aging and make people smarter and more. Supposedly, while it couldn't stop the outward signs of aging, it helped prevent it on the inside. Since she was still spirited enough to tell these kinds of jokes at her age, there must be something to that theory. Ho ho ho! In that case, if you'll excuse me, prepare yourself for tonight's dinner. I'll be cooking plenty of mackerel dishes for you all, so you better be prepared and look forward to it. Ha! We sure will. Can't wait to get all puckered up from tonight's shimi saba. That sounds wonderful. I wonder if they'll be serving any good Japanese sake. Oh, we certainly will. Haven't you heard of Rokonjima's famous mackerel shochu? Ha 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 ha! Kumasawa-san, together with Shannon Chen, bowed and pushed away the serving cart away. It's pretty funny to watch Goto-san, who looked like his show had been totally stolen, explain in a serious voice that we would be having calf steak for dinner. Kumasawa-san, thanks for doing that back there. As she pushed the serving cart, Shannon bowed her head very deeply. Oh, I haven't done anything that requires thanks. Kumasawa may have played dumb, but she had obviously understood that she shaved Shannon's neck in the nick of time. Back when Battler had asked about dessert, Shannon had unfortunately hesitated. There may have been several ways to dodge the questions, but all of them would have required some quick wits. Shannon, who hesitated when hard pressed for a response, was always suffering because of this small weakness. If only Shannon had a little of the craftiness needed to cleverly shake off a mistake like Gota, her life would have been a bit easier. In fact, she could have performed other tasks flawlessly. This weakness would flawlessly made this weakness even more unfortunate. However, there were some who understood Shannon's honest nature and inability to gloss over a mistake and draw attention away from it. That was why Kumasawa had smoothly come to her rescue. I had just heard from Genji-san that there would be a change in this afternoon's shifts. I believe you were given a break until this evening. Ha, I'm jealous. Oh, sorry, I haven't checked the shift chart yet. Ah, yes. I was thinking I might start cooking some mackerel in the oven. If you don't mind, I would be happy if you would help out a bit before your break. Ah, yes. I would be delighted to help. To Shannon, Kumasa was like a mother among servants. The dining hall needed to be cleaned up, so we were chased out. Instead, she was being served in the parlor. Apparently, they prepared the black tea that Aunt Rosa had bought for Aunt Matsui. Maria said she had wanted to give back some black tea, but my old bastard said that she couldn't and told us children to go play outside. Battler-kun, why don't we all go for a walk outside? Go ahead and take a look at the roses or something, but keep a close eye on the weather. The sky is still clear, but the weather report kept talking about rain. Ooh! I want to go to the beach. The beach! Oh, that sounds wonderful. Playing on a sandy beach isn't something you get to do often, is it? Ah, good point. Okay, let's all go to the beach then. Ooh, let's go, let's go! Maria, be careful not to get your clothes wet. Or your shoes. Ooh, won't get wet. That obedience is so cute. Battler-kun, make sure you keep an eye out for Maria-chan, okay? Sure, leave it to me. Hey, you're pretty obedient and cute yourself listening to Kyrie like that. Why don't you listen to me obediently for a change? Ha! Hell no. Let's go, everyone, come on. The children flew out of the parlor. They were replaced by Genji, who was pushing a servant cart and prepared to serve the tea. The parlor was filled with sublime aroma, which delighted everyone while they waited to sate their thirst. Ha ha! Rudolph's family certainly seems close. It's a wonderful thing. Quit it. We're no match for your family, Aniki. That's true. You've raised Jessica to be so adorable. Imagine that yet another fruit of your talent and education and training, Natsui-Nisan. Thank you, Natsui answered coldly. The conversation broke off then and the parlor fell silent. Maybe Hideyoshi couldn't bear the silence because he broke it himself with an exaggerated gesture. Still, they sure grow fast. Thought they'd be kids forever, but they start getting huge all of a sudden, and then they're adults like us. Battler-kun looks like a completely different person now. His body has grown so much bigger, but he's still just a kid. Though you could say the same about my husband. I wonder where the border between child and adult is. I still don't feel as though I've grown up. Isn't that pitiful? That's not something the mother of a child should say. That's right, we're not children anymore. We're all adults now. So I wish we could talk together on an intellectual level rather than an emotional one. When Ava smiled with sharp sarcasm, everyone seemed to get more tense. It felt as though a pleasant tea aroma had been tossed out the window. Since long ago, we've always endeavored to engage in intellectual conversations. It seems your sarcasm occasionally misses its mark, just as it always has. Oh, what is it you've always endeavored to do? My. I wish I could wrap those words up and send them into this room a few decades ago. Right, Rosa? Rosa gave a vague smile. She knew that whether she agreed or disagreed, she'd earned the displeasure of one of her siblings. But it was a bit of worldly wisdom that had been essential for someone that growing up as the youngest sibling. Quit it, Nikki. We better start going on our main topic while the brats aren't around. Let us make our intellectual conversation. As Rudolph glanced over the faces of all present, some let out a light sigh and some took a look of resignation across their face. They were approaching their inevitable, the true agenda. Last year, his life expectancy was estimated to be about 3 months, which I guess means he's got a negative 9 months left now. Should we take that to mean it might suddenly happen at any time? The family head is still alive and well. The fact That you bring up such an inappropriate talk under the light of day makes me doubt your sanity, Rudolph-san. Still, Natsui Ni-san. This is the sort of thing you can't put off until after something happens. He's still healthy now, which makes this the perfect time to talk about this. Well, we still got time to plan. It's just a bit of financial etiquette, you might say. It seems like father is the focus of everyone's concern. Dr. Nanjo? Can we hear the details from you? Doctor-patient confidentiality. That appears to be what everyone else is waiting for, after all. Nanjo, who had been standing by the window and staring out into the garden, let a small cough when he realized he had been called. Dr. Nanjo, how is father's condition? Well, to begin, allow me to start with a revision since my estimate last year, which he only had 3 months left and was not borne out. No need to explain. You're saying that by measuring a remaining life is only a prediction, not a promise, right? That is correct. Because of that, while I accept everyone's repeated questions, I can by no means confirm when he will pass away. A human's life is supported by their body and their mind. If the body is weak, the situation becomes more dangerous, but if the mind is strong enough to compensate for that weakness, the effects of one's condition can sometimes remain in a subdued state. So you're saying that even though his body is weak, his mind is still firm and spirited? Kyrie, sorry, but please stay quiet for a bit. I'm sorry. Dick. That is correct. Kinzo-san's body is being overwhelmed by the demon of his ill health. This will hold especially true as long as he continues to partake in such strong alcohol. So he's in crisis now because he drinks. And maybe he lived this long because he drinks. There's Dad for you, the heavy drinker. Well then, Doctor, I know you can't give anything more than a prediction, but what do you think about Father's chances of living until this date next year? That's a quite rude question to ask about the family head. Natsui jumped on Ava, not even bothering to hide her astonished expression. Ava stared back daringly, but Hideyoshi realized what was going on and tried to smooth things over with a forced smile. Ah, Natsui. Forgive her. Ava, choose your words a bit more carefully, okay? I'm sorry. I was just so concerned about Father's condition. Huh. Is that so? I hadn't realized. Dr. Nanjo, please tell us, for the sake of the beautiful love of a daughter worried about her father's lifespan. Krus laughed sarcastically, and Ava, smiling sweetly, returned an identical chuckle. You ask whether he will still be healthy next year. But as a doctor, it's very hard to say, because while I do think this lullness condition will continue for a while, if he suffers some kind of fit, there may be nothing we can do. After all, Rokujima is a solitary island. It's not his own ambulance can quickly jump in to save him. Normally I would want to have him placed in a large hospital in the mainland, but Father stated that he doesn't want his noble research interrupted. It seems he holds a grudge over the way we tried to force him out last year. Apparently he strongly suspects that he'll be shut away in some hospital if he goes outside, and that's how things are now. Has Dr. Nanjo been examining him? Father trusts Dr. Nanjo. It seems he can be examined when in one of his better moods. I can examine his condition, but if I try to recommend medicine or hospitalization, he refuses to listen. I've really only been able to look. It's true, some people hate doctors. Still, what a hassle. Nanjo sighed deeply. The purpose of an examination is to determine medical treatment that would be appropriate. Receiving an examination and then not following the advice given makes the whole thing pointless. That's true. So to sum it up, he's still expected to live 3 months. There's no way to guess how long he'll continue to live while he goes on the verge of death. Rudolph-san, couldn't you be a little more discreet with your words? Ah, sorry. I've always talked this way. Give me a break. I understand how Dr. Nanjo sees it. What about you, Cross? To be perfectly honest, I have to disagree with Dr. Nanjo. I find it truly difficult to think that Father as a person is a person so sick that he only has 3 months to live. His yell is as healthy as ever, and I still get chills at the thought of his fist ramming down on me. Pushing the care of your father solely onto the shoulders of the eldest sibling is far from fair. In the next world, get born after me. Okay, let's get back on track. So in the opinion of our impartial and neutral doctor, it wouldn't be odd for him to go any time. No offense to you, Aniki, but I'd rather trust the opinion of an expert in his field, which means it's definitely not too early to start talking about Dad's assets. Father's personal funds probably reach as high as several 10 billion, right? But it's not as though that's nearly all neatly gathered as ready cash. It's not as simple as cutting a birthday cake with a knife. That's an interesting way to put it. That's right. You sometimes get strawberries or chocolates on top of the cake, making it hard to cleanly cut into equal parts. Given that, don't you think it's important to discuss beforehand how best to stick in the knife? I cannot understand how you all can openly discuss this as the family head is dead, even though he's still alive. Come now. Don't you see how important this is? After all, when the time comes, the inheritance of his fortune must be carried out immediately, right? These people are vultures, man. Moreover, the glorious Ushiromiya house's wealth is vast. Don't you understand that the careful discussion is necessary beforehand? There's a huge difference between this family's resources and your family's wealth. How rude! My birth family has nothing to do with this. Natsui responded indignantly with a low voice, and the dark atmosphere grew even more hostile. Give it a rest, Ava. Natsui, forgive us. Pardon our rudeness. Hideyoshi tried to smooth things over by glancing, both with a forced smile, but only resulted in making the hostility between Ava and Natsui even more intense. It seems I'll just get in the way if I stay any longer. Please excuse me. Nanjo rose. Yeah, I would get the hell out of there too. Nanjo rose from his seat, excited, and exited the parlor. To an outsider, it made it seem like a normal act of courtesy, but his back was watched by several glances, envious of his ability to escape. After the doctor had exited and his footsteps had disappeared into the distance, Krauss crossed his legs. In other words, this is what you would all like to say. Father's remaining life is short. You want to quickly enter a practical conference concerning the distribution of the inheritance. Why are you so eager, I wonder? Certainly, as you say, estimating and distributing the Ushiromiya wealth is no simple task. In that case, shouldn't we make careful and deliberate calculations? It seems to me that you all are impatient to split up the cake tonight. Isn't that true, Rosa? What reason is there to be hasty? Well, we aren't being hasty. However, we need to have an agreement between the siblings. It doesn't matter when we do that. But if the day Father's condition worsens is approaching, discussing the matter beforehand hardly seems hasty to me. Rosa shot a glance at Ava and Rudolph. As the youngest sibling in the family, it was hard for her to be cross-examined by the eldest. So in Japan, does it automatically go to the family? They don't have wills? Because technically, couldn't he just not give it to anyone in the family? And they're putting the cart before the horse? Oh, is that your true opinion? I didn't expect the most honest and pure heart of the siblings would say something like that. I wonder if those two told you to say it. Quit it, Aniki. Rosa's one of Dad's kids too. She got as much right to his inheritance as the rest of us. It's only natural that she'd be interested. After all, Dad'll definitely die, and that's not something that'll happen in the distant future. On the contrary, Nikki, you're way too relaxed. It almost seemed like you'd like nothing better than to turn the discussion away from the inheritance issue. What do you mean by that? Are you trying to accuse my husband of something? Yeah, I am. Calm down, Natsui. Listen to what we have to say. Nissan, I hear that times have been extremely good lately. Yes, since last year we've been in an unprecedented boom and the yen keeps on rising. It seems that it's no longer a dream that the dollar will reach 100 yen. Oh. Also, the ruling party says that it will establish a health resort maintenance law by the next year. At this moment, resort development companies across Japan are running about trying to gather as much funding as they can. You certainly seem to know a lot about it. Japan is about to experience an unprecedented boom. It'll be the repeat of the Korean War demands, the time during when Father revived the Ushiromiya family. The people of Japan have been working like mad, achieving vast economic growth and becoming the most well-off people in the world, reaching the height of our prosperity. We've reached an era where private spending is vast, which means easy money for institutions that can capitalize on that fact. 3 kinds of electrical appliances no longer represent the people's needs. The people need ski resorts, golf courses, public pools, resort hotels, and theme parks. Have you gone to Delzy? It's supposed to be Disneyland, isn't it? Which just opened a few years ago? What an excellent theme park. It's a place where even an adult can be a kid and have fun with his family. No longer do we count our sole virtue to be selfless devotion while failing to care for our families. We have become the most prosperous people in the world, and now we can finally enjoy the benefits. Is this supposed to be the 80s? Like in Higurashi? Kraus, your foresight's nothing to sneeze at. When I heard that sort of thing several years ago, I thought it was crazy. But when I heard about the G5 Nations Plaza Accord, that all changed. The yen shot up, and I'll bet the price of land skyrocketed soon too. Oh, skyrockets soon too. It won't be long before Japan becomes the economic center of the world. You've got a great sense of direction in the world's moving, Kraus-san. At least there can be no debate about that. I feel the same as Hideyoshi-san. And Iki, you can read into the next decade of history. I'll bet that you got that keen sense from Dad, and it's incredible. However, unlike Dad, the timing of your predictions has been a bit off sometimes, right? Nissan, you've been starting resort projects everywhere. I'm convinced that Japan will see a boom, but almost all of them continue to fail. While I'm sure that the era you predicted will soon arrive, it seems that you misread the timing of that boom. You were too early. You then panicked and tried to sell everything off, which only opened the wound even further. If your nose was really so reliable, then there should have been no reason for you to sell off your property. Is it proof that you mistrust your own ability? How rude! Are you trying to insult my husband? Natsui's forehead creased as she rose from the sofa. Ava paid this no heed, stared at Kraus with a confident smile. Kraus, who also maintained his confident appearance, told Natsui to sit down. Please stop, Natsui. Ava's always been incapable of talking any other way. Calm down a little or your headache will get worse. There's proof of your lack of talent right next to us. After all, Nissan, weren't you excited about turning this island into a resort? You built a wonderful resort hotel and beautifully maintained the garden. I'm just an amateur and don't pretend to understand, but you must have used a significant amount of money for that, right? And what is that to you? My husband's business is none of yours. Actually, that's not true, Natsui-san. Yeah, it isn't, because it's the dad's money. Rokujima doesn't belong to Aniki. It belongs to Dad. Of course the hotel belongs to Aniki, right? In fact, we'd be more than willing to pay lodging fees for tonight. What do you think, Rosa? Well, If what I have on hand will suffice. If I can make it into a resort, this island's financial worth will rise. It is true that expenses have piled up, but we can expect large harvests in the future. When that happens, all of you stand to profit as well, do you not? I don't think the witch will be a fan of the island being built up. Just a thought. I understand that. If the value of the island rises, that'll increase our portions when we distribute the inheritance. Of course, I won't ask you to divide the island and the mansion into 4 equal parts. We can just resolve the matter with money equal to the value of the property. If you understand that much, what about my business makes you so dissatisfied? We aren't dissatisfied, we're uneasy. In the first place, Aniki, when do you plan on opening that hotel? Left this way, you won't get anything out of it except our grubby handprints, right? That's right. It's an important tool for your business, isn't it? Surely you can't keep it locked up until the moment you open it. Buildings go bad if you don't use them and air them out every once in a while. Even so, it's a bit extravagant for a guest house that we only use once a year. Right, Rosa? That's right. Considering how wonderful it is, I'm sure it'll become quite popular once you open it. Oh, so the hotel you keep talking about is the guest house? It's splendid. Just as Rosa said, if you were to open it, I'm sure it would become popular. The lodging they had been guided wasn't originally intended to serve as a guest house. It was originally constructed as a resort hotel. However, even though it was built 2 years previously, there was still absolutely no prospect of it opening. Nissan, it's just like all of your enterprises. Your attention and planning are both fabulous. Then it always becomes unmaintainable partway through and ends before you have a chance to earn any profit. You were brilliant when you saw using this island only as a place to live was a waste. I think it was pretty good to plan to turn it into a resort so you could use the prospect of marine sports, fishing, honeymoons, and the like to attract customers. If I were the oldest son, I'm sure I would have strained my brain looking for a way to make a profit off this island. But 2 full years have passed since you finished building, right? After 2 years, you still haven't had the opportunity to open it. Where's the managing company you entrusted it to? Impertinence! That's not my husband's fault. There have just been some trouble with the company that my husband contracted with. No matter how you look at it, we are the victims here. And yet, the rumors we've heard about this company you hired haven't been good at all. Let's be clear about this, dear. Did you really think we wouldn't hear about how lack of payment, embezzlement, and other issues led to the project disintegrating mid-flight? We even have evidence. I don't know what kind of evidence you think you have found, but it's all baseless. As new members in this tourism industry, it's necessary for us to lay the groundwork with various people. It's also important to investigate the trustworthiness of our partners. It's merely taken us some time to meet that goal. I'll admit that in my rashness, the hotel was completed too early. However, it's not as though we're paying maintenance costs. It's a foundation that will eventually become immensely significant. Liar. I bet you want to liquidate it, but you can't. After all, there's no reason for anyone to buy such an extravagant hotel on an isolated empty island without any established sightseeing routes. And anyway, what about all the loans you made for this project? Even if you aren't incurring any maintenance costs, the borrowed money that you can't return just keeps growing. Sorry, Kraus, but I've investigated the development plan for this island a bit. To be honest, I haven't heard anything good either. Hideyoshi-san, I can see how you might have been left with the impression by looking at the current financial situation. However, this is a forward-looking investment. I have no choice but to admit that my prediction was mistaken, and that up until now, several liabilities have been created. However, the times have finally caught up with me. I will soon regain all that I lost up to this point. No, actually, all the investments I have made until now will finally return to my possession. That's right, just like throwing away small fry to catch salmon, they will come back even bigger than before. I'll accept that. The resort business will probably see an unprecedented boom before long. though I don't know if it'll be enough to cover all of your debt. However, Cross, after all of your failures in the past, who exactly do you expect to provide with funding? And this isn't some small amount we're talking about. You need enough funding to fill a massive hole you dug. What are you trying to say, Hideyoshi? Ah, Natsui. Please don't get angry. We looked into this too. We checked to see who might have provided Cross with enough financing to support his recent large-scale projects, despite his string of failures. And we discovered that no such backer exists. The iron rule of the money roulette is that you bet against the loser. Aniki, you're a fairly well-known loser in this field. It's true that the prosperous times are about to come. That when we look for people who considered that enough to overlook your string of failures, also had enough for the investment, we found no candidates. So, the big question now is where you got that money from? Huh! Now, isn't this intriguing? And, dear, how long do you plan to let these ridiculous remarks stand? Sit down, Natsui. Let's cut to the point. Aniki, you've been diverting Dad's private funds for your own businesses. There's pretty much no room for doubt. If you think that we made some kind of mistake, please feel free to explain. Rudolph, don't call it diverting funds. This is embezzlement, plain and simple. A huge crime that can be criminally prosecuted. This sort of rudeness cannot be tolerated. How can you face a successor to the Ushiromiya head family and level these absurd accusations? They aren't absurd. They're right on the mark. And I'm sure he'd like to somehow make his business succeed and recover his losses, but his debt keeps getting bigger. He's just trying to cover up the failure of one gamble by making an even bigger one. It's only natural he'd try to grab any source of funding close at hand. Let me be frank, Nissan. What you're doing is embezzlement. You're betraying Father. You know that we've had the courts settle this, knowing that we'll have the courts settle this after it's all over, right? Do you think that kind of person has the right to call themselves a successor to the Ushiromiya head family? Of all the... You dare to claim that he has betrayed the Ushiromiya family head? You no longer have the right to straddle the threshold of the glorious Ushiromiya family. Leave this place at once, now! Get out! Natsui, who had already reached the limits of her anger, shouted at Ava in rage. She then pointed alternatively at Ava in the hallway, demanding that she leave. Ava took out a folding fan and fanned herself with it, glaring maliciously at Natsui, as though silently daring her to repeat what she said. However, her mouth was still smiling, curved in the shape of a crescent moon. In that unpleasant silence rose a gulp. Hey, Natsui-san? To whom do you think you were speaking in such a tone? I'm speaking to the exceedingly rude sister of my husband. As the person in charge of the main family's kitchen, I cannot overlook any more of this. In charge of the kitchen? Ha ha ha! Be silent, lowly maidservant. Ava folded the fan with a snap, rose to her feet energetically. Compared to the elegance and playfulness she'd shown until a second ago, she was now unimaginably aggressive. How foolish! You stand down, before Ava of the Ushiromiya family. You tell me to stand down? Me, Ushiromiya Ava, the third ranked in the Ushiromiya family hierarchy and the one allowed to sit at the left shoulder of the head? Know your place, and then look at your shabby self in the mirror. Where is the symbol of the wing on your clothes? Where are you permitted to wear the one-winged eagle? Oh! Okay, that's important on the clothing. Aren't you nothing more than a borrowed wound to the house of the next successor of the Ushiromiya family? Understand your place, you common housemaid. Ava's face twisted hideously as her words gouged into Natsui's heart like talons wrenching at it. That was not nice. There were 100 ways Natsui wanted to respond. However, her anger and sorrow crushed her throat, and none of those words managed to make it to her mouth. Her anger had nowhere to go, and became a single hot tear that slowly dripped down. What's wrong? If you have something to say, please do so. Come on. Ava faced her with a provocative gaze. However, Natsui could do nothing but tremble, her clenched fist wavering. Kraus quietly broke a powder keg tension. Natsui, leave your seat. You should go cool your head. What? Natsui, resenting the fact that her husband had not come to her aid, shifted her focus of her attack. Dear, don't you understand what they're saying about you? These people basically calling you a traitor to the father. They're making light of the fact that we protect the glory of the Ushiromiya family, even though we are constantly expending every effort to earn the glory from father. They trampled all of that underfoot with their hateful rambling. And you don't even try to fight back. Why? I'm only standing up for us because you won't. But you've been putting the entire burden on me for some time now. And now, you tell me to go cool my head? It's always me. Even though I've always considered this family's affairs so seriously, God. Natsui was unable to hide her tears. She flew from the room in that state. After that, all that remained was somewhat embarrassment mood in the parlor. When the sound of footsteps grew distant and silent, returned, Kraus shrugged his shoulders slightly. I apologize for my wife. She has always been bad at controlling her emotions. It's even been rough for me. If that's what's managing your household, you must suffer to no end. Madame, it's nothing. Leave me be. Natsui flew into her room and threw herself on her bed, lamenting. Those heart-wrenching sobs reached Kumasawa in the hallway. Poor Madame Natsui. There is a deep enmity between her and Eva-sama. Explaining their relationship will be very trying for me as a woman. As the Ushiromiya family holds blood in high regard, but if a woman marries and leaves the family, they are normally removed from the family register. Thus, under normal circumstances, Ava should have been removed when she married Hideyoshi-sama. However, there is no one deserving of blame of this matter. The Madame certainly bears no guilt. There is nothing to call it other than whim of God. Kraus-sama and Natsui-sama were not blessed with children for some time. After all, this male-dominant Ushiromiya family, a wife is merely a tool to create an heir. If such a wife cannot fulfill her only duty, she will not even be treated as human. It pains me to remember how the master tortured the Madame during that time. Back then, a wedding between Ava and Hideyoshi was being discussed. Ava-sama was sly. Taking advantage of Madame's inability to become pregnant, she gained the favor of the master. She inspired him to allow her to marry and give birth to a successor herself, making sure to avoid transferring her name out of the Ushiromiya register. There is a vast difference in the Ushiromiya hierarchy between Madame, who married into the Ushiromiya family and was treated like an outsider, and Ava-sama, who was related to the family by blood and whose husband took on the Ushiromiya family name. Furthermore, Ava actually gave birth first, and to a boy. As for how much weaker Madame's position was than Ava-sama's, well, I believe you could see for yourself. I'm sure Madame is tormented by the thought that if only she had gotten pregnant earlier, the master wouldn't have accepted Ava-sama's request to keep her last name after marriage. And Ava-sama wouldn't have permitted to act as arrogantly as she did today. However, that was not Madame's fault. All of the blame lies with God's whims and the stork that delivered Jessica late. Even so, Madame wouldn't allow herself to see things this way. She probably can't help but cry bitter tears as the woman at her inability to carry out the duties expected of a wife. Ah, how sad. I cannot do anything except watch over her from the shadows. What? Oh, are we going to be at the beach? We crossed our hall again on our way to the entrance. As we did once again, spotted the witch's portrait. However, spotted probably isn't the best word to describe that experience. It was more like our eyes were inexplicably drawn to it. That woman's eyes with their sage-like glamour definitely had the power to make those who viewed it stand rooted on the spot. So, this is the witch Beatrice. I wonder if that story's true. Ooh, Battler doesn't believe? Back when he had asked what this picture was, the first person to tell him had been Maria. Therefore, when Battler showed signs of doubt, Maria must have felt that Battler didn't have faith in her. Of course that wasn't what Battler meant. Maria ran up to the portrait and began banging on a plate below it. Maybe the title of the portrait was written there. Maria, trying to prove she wasn't lying, obstinately continued to hit the plate. Ha! Sorry about that. It's not like I doubt anything you said, Maria. Ooh, Battler believes. Ooh. When he patted Maria's head and apologized, she seemed to accept it, sticking her chest out proudly, oohing. What's this? My beloved witch Beatrice? Behold, this Sweetfish River. What's with this weird huge epitaph? The plate did have the title of the portrait written on it, but it was much too big to contain only that. Beneath the title was what appeared to be a long epitaph. If you just skimmed over it, several unnerving words would jump out at you. Incredible, isn't it? Grandfather had that made. Pretty deep, huh? Ooh, I know. It's the place where gold's hidden. Wait. Is that the story about the Ushiromiya family hidden gold? Now there's another thing I remember from long ago. Hold on, Nikki, is this for real? Grandfather had this made, but he never said anything about the picture or the epitaph. Even so, amongst family, it's often whispered that this indicates the location where Grandfather's hidden gold, and that he will relinquish the inheritance and gold to the person who solves the riddle. Ooh! I heard that too. Lots and lots of gold. Well, something like that. Something like the 10 metric tons of gold bars. I think it's fake, though. Still, when you read about an epitaph like this, it almost seems real. I think I already explained Grandfather's upbringing. But let me also mention that the Ushiromiya family's legend of gold. Grandfather succeeded the Ushiromiya family after it was destroyed by the Great Kanto earthquake, and by successfully riding the stormy seas after the war, he managed to accumulate great wealth. That much of the story everyone knows. However, this is where the strange part begins. This is the strange part? Part of it involves Grandfather's black magic obsession, so its credibility is extremely low, but, well, wait until the end before you doubt or make fun of it. After the war, Grandfather correctly predicted what the future would hold on a huge gamble, accumulating a vast store of wealth. But there's a mysterious legend about how he gained his initial funding. Grandfather came from a branch that had no connections in this business world or financial world. Even though he built connections with occupying forces, he supposedly started as a nameless person who had yet gained anyone's trust. It takes trust to gather money. There's no way anyone will lend money to someone they didn't trust. How Grandfather, who had no reputation at all, managed to obtain his first vast chunk of funds? When asked that question, Grandfather supposedly answered it like this. On a certain day I encountered the Golden Witch Beatrice. Grandfather then went on about his continuing research into alchemy and techniques for summoning demons in order to become a great magician. And the entity summoned as a result of the demon-calling ceremony was the Golden Witch Beatrice. He then apparently made a contract by which he would receive fortune and honor in exchanging for his own soul. The witch then granted Grandfather 10 tons of gold. Grandfather uses this gold as collateral to prepare vast quantity of funds, which he then used to multiply his wealth many times over and revive the Ushiromiya family. It seems the story is so old that even our parents were told it when they were still children. Back when our parents were young, they explored the island in all sorts of ways, believing that the gold Grandfather had received from the witch might be hidden somewhere. However, since there was a danger of them getting lost in the abandoned forest, Grandmother became spreading the story that the witch lived in the forest and approaching it was forbidden. I remember that old story when we were little. We also went all over the island searching for a treasure after our parents told us about it. Didn't we get lost in the forest once, then started crying until some of the servants found us? Our parents got so mad. Dang, that takes me back. We sure were idiots, weren't we? After all, Grandfather only bought this island after using those funds to get rich, right? That means he must have had the gold before coming here. There's no way the gold's on this island. That's not necessarily so. Maybe the gold was hidden on the island from the beginning, and he bought the whole island just to ensure that he'd be his and his alone. There's a whole 10 metric tons of it, right? That's so much gold. Seems more realistic that he also tried to secure a place where it was hidden rather than try to move it all. The epitaph was made 2 years ago, and since Grandfather wrote it himself, yeah, it does make the legend of the gold seem more believable. The so-called witch's gold that revived the Ushiromiya family weighed 10 tons. Maybe that's sleeping somewhere, ready to be turned over to whoever can solve Grandfather's riddle. Maybe that's why he did it. Ha! I guess that sounds like Grandfather's style or something. If it's true, that's pretty incredible. The epitaph carved onto the plate was very mysterious, with something like a poem or song written onto it. The text was incredibly disturbing and filled with the signs that Grandfather's black magic hobby and its contents were in truly bad taste, but it could definitely be viewed as a puzzle, which, if solved, might lead to hidden gold. I want to see the epitaph. Whether that's what he intended or not, I can't even imagine what his true motive might have been. We know for sure that Grandfather put his shady epitaph here so everyone in the family could see it. We also know that he's hinting at the existence of the gold without ever talking about where it might be hidden, or at least so far. These facts were embellished by the imaginations of our parents, who were convinced that Grandfather was challenging us to a battle of wits. Sounds like just like my dad, so greedy that he'd take something like this so seriously. He may laugh at Grandfather's black magic obsession, but he'd still believe this story about hidden gold. It just sounds so good. Well, it certainly is not a realistic story. At the time, when Grandfather was still nameless and had no connections, there was no way anyone could just lend it massive quantities of gold bars for free. Such a person did exist, but it's unthinkable that Grandfather would call such a sponsor a witch. Yeah, but 10 tons! If you cash it in, how much would that come to? I mean, it'd have to be a ridiculous amount, right? It certainly would be a ridiculous amount. They say that the total amount of gold mined by humankind since the dawn of history is 100,000 metric tons at most. That is a lot. 1/10,000th of all the gold a humankind has obtained through history should belong to just one person is just insane. On top of that, this witch supposedly had all the gold collected in just one place and was able to lend it to Grandfather just like that. We're not talking about an ordinary person. Well, to me, that 10 tons number seems pretty fishy. After all, no one's actually seen it except Grandfather, right? Even if we assume that some generous witch existed and lent him some gold, maybe it's closer to 10 kilograms than 10 tons. Even 10 kilograms would be a pretty incredible sum, right? Ooh! 10 kilograms of gold is how much? Maria, who wasn't following the story and felt like she was being spoken to in riddles, finally found a place where she could ask us a question. It's a question I also wanted the answer right then. Whether 10 kilograms or 10 tons, it actually still felt like a huge amount, but I had no idea exactly how huge. George Niki folded his arms and tried to remember the marketing price in gold. Well, even the value of gold is affected by market, and value of physical gold can change depending on its purity, trustworthiness of the foundry. You also need to pay some handling fees and cash in. However, that doesn't change the fact that it's precious metal, and some people's estimate that humanity will mine all the world's gold within a half century if mining continues at a current rate. Just guessing haphazardly, I think you could expect a price about 2 million yen per kilogram. Whoa. Just now, I randomly said 10 kilograms since it sounded smaller, but even that would be worth 10 million, 20 million yen, wouldn't it? Ooh! I weighed 28 kilograms, which means that if we had Maria-chan's weight in gold, we could estimate it's worth over 50 million yen. That's just unbelievable. How much would 10 tons be then? 10 kilograms is 20 million yen, which if you multiply by 1,000, so 20 billion yen? What the hell? How much is 20 billion yen actually worth? We can only measure it relative to our own pocketbooks. Anyway, let's say a salesperson wages over a lifetime are about 200 million yen. You grow up and work like crazy, sacrificing your life for a company, and you're finally freed as you approach old age. Everything, including retirement money, might add up to 200 million yen. In other words, that's the amount that'll be made throughout a human's life. Now, you could even call it the value of life. So, 100 times that sum is an unbelievable amount of money. If you work from the age 20 to age 60, that's 40 years of work. So it's equal to 4,000 years of work wages. If you worked every day starting from the Jomon period, you'd only reach those numbers about now. Alright, I'm going to stop for today, guys. Learning a bit more about the world. It's interesting. I am excited to just really get into the story, or once things pick up a bit more.